Good morning to everyone. I will present to you today our research about the School for the Deaf in Vertois, that is in Cameroon, where we tried to make a contrastive analysis between the French Sign Language and the language that is used in that school. We are Enrico, Dolza, and Andre Ebouaney. I'm Enrico, and my colleague Andre. We both work in the Turin Institution for the Deaf, that is in Italy, and we have a special project with some African countries like Burkina Faso and Cameroon, mainly supporting the training of the teacher of local deaf schools. What we will present today is in Cameroon. That is a very complex country from the linguistic point of view. It's not only a bilingual country because of their use of French and English as official languages used in the government, but also is a multilingual country because they have a lot of local ethnic languages. We found out that it's possible to count at least 280 languages. In this huge amount of languages, sign languages are not included. The reason of this absence of sign language in the wider panorama of local languages is that is believed in Cameroon to use French Sign Language and American Sign Language accordingly to the local official European language. So the idea is that in the English-speaking part of the country, deaf people and deaf schools are using American Sign Language, while in the Francophone area, they use la langue des signes française. But this is not completely true. Why, for example, in Yaoundé, the local deaf school is also using a lot of American sign language signs. The same we can say in other schools where the basic French Sign Language is used with the important difference. And with our research, we wanted to explore this gap between French Sign Language and local sign language, at least as far as for Vertois School for the Deaf is concerned. The school in Vertois is named after Saint John the Baptist, and is a school that is included in the local compound of the Catholic bishopric. It is a school that was established in 2004 and in the following years became a bigger school, and they are quite a local institution for the deaf, like to be the biggest one, and also is a place where deaf can meet each other, and where also teachers are open to support a deaf community. In 2009, the school started to operate full-time, and with the idea to open also to some vocational activities, vocational training activities, and to improve the boarding facilities. The teachers are trained like normal teachers, even if some of them are involved in a special education subject, and also are involved in their training, lifelong training, in relation with Yaoundé School for the Deaf. In our research, we we video recorded a total of 73 signs. We make video recording from everyday communication and from instant communication of the child during their daily life. The semantic domain of the signs we documented are into school life, greetings, some geographical place names, food, colors, family, numbering, and some adjectives. Of course, we are aware that the corpus of the signs is not exhaustive, but we choose high frequency words because we also believe that high frequency words are the most suitable to make a comparative and contrastive research to check the contact and maybe the difference between French Sign Language and local sign languages. In fact, the result is very interesting in our view. Of the 73 signs we video recorded, we found out that 36 are exactly the same as in French Sign Language. That 22 are probably derived from French Sign Language because they are very similar even though they have phonological alterations. And 15 are completely different from Sign Language. So from our analysis, we can say that the situation can be like this one. Signs that are the same, like a French Sign Language, are perfectly borrowed from it, and it's because the oral language is French, and also because training of deaf teachers are often managed by French organizations. And in that way, we can say that French Sign Language is a part of the general French cultural influence on the country. The second group is signs with phonological alterations. We can assume that exactly like the first group, they are borrowing from French Sign Language, but they are changing locally, at least for one of the four most important parameters, like a configuration, location, orientation, and movement. Then we discovered some completely different signs, and we can say that probably these different signs are due to influence of home signs, or also because of different cultural iconic influence in the formation of the signs. Again, also in Bertois, even if in a general French-speaking environment, we found out some loans from American Sign Language, even in very, very common signs, like yes. That is not like in French Sign Language, oui, but it's yes. And so on American Sign Language, we can say that is in a way a very strong language and is penetrating also in the Francophone area. Now we will present you just a few examples of these different signs. We offer you a panoramic view of signs with phonological alteration, and we can say that one of the main alteration that we registered is due to two main changes. One is in the way of simplifications of the sign. So often the sign produced with, for example, two configurations are then produced in Bertois with just one. Or in other case, there is an increased iconicity. So the signs are more iconic than the French version. Sometimes also we can say that they are simplified not only in the choose of configurations, but also in the reduction of movement, like in this signs, that is the signs for hot, that is made with a clear movement in French Sign Language, while it is static in Bertois version. And again, phonological alteration occur with some movement towards iconic representation of the object, like we can see in this sign, that is the sign for candy, where the changement is in the location of the signs, but this location is not a neutral one. The movement from the mouth to the other part of the face, it shows where exactly the candy is seen in the bulge of the mouth. Another kind of phonological alteration follows the phenomena of regularization. So we can see that in some case, signs are produced like in family of signs, where the same movement or the same place for the production of the signs is generalized also to others. Like in this example, we can see that the signs for France, that is that one, in Bertois is produced here, in the same place where you produce the signs for Africa or for Europe. So where you are expected to produce the signs for the geographical name of the place. Another kind of phonological alteration is with a change of configuration, like in this one, where hearing person is assigned with the same place and the same orientation and the same movement, but a different configuration. Or again, the sign for Africa, where is changed the orientation, and where the orientation and the location is the same, but movement and configuration are changed. Again, a change of location for the sign of Europe. Then we found out some completely different signs. In some case, we don't know exactly where they come from, but we can also assume that often they are due to local home signs of the child that arrived in the school as the first generation. As the school is very young, we know that the child arrived with their own signs. We know that because we asked to the children and to the teachers, and so we have direct informant of the fact that children arrived in the school with their own catalog of signs, and they mixed these signs with the French Sign Language used by the teachers. In other case, there are some local signs that are also related to cultural issues that are just local. For example, here we can say that we have a different iconic metaphor under the sign for the chief, because, for example, in France, the idea of the boss is related to the strength, while in Cameroon is related to have some medal, and probably also because this evoke the idea that often the chief are in some way related to the military power. In conclusion, what we can say? We can say that based on the documented sign analysis we did, we can assume that the language used in Bertois is not French Sign Language, even if it is directly related to that one. is not French Sign Language for the reason we told you, and that is that almost half of the signs we recorded are different from French Sign Language to some extent, or completely, or just for some modifications. Our hypothesis is that in BERT1 we registered a Creole language based on French Sign Language with some influence of American Sign Language associated with local signs and home signs. And the final result is a different language. This different language, we can say moreover one important thing. They are aware that they are not using French Sign Language. Children and teachers, they know that they are not using French Sign Language and that they are using a local version of French Sign Language. What they think is that they are using a wrong version of French Sign Language, a corrupted version of French Sign Language, while it's not that the real situation. So probably what we have to do is to work with them again to complete the documentation of their language, but also to spread the idea that local language is not a bad version of French Sign Language, but probably we are seeing the emerging of a new language that is in the family of Creole language, even if in that case is a signed Creole and is not, of course, an oral Creole. So this is our hypothesis, and we are still working in Cameroon, and we are now collecting further data in other local isolated schools. We are in this 2020, we worked with Ebouaney school that is in another area of the country, French-speaking school. And in a very similar situation run by the local group of clergymen. And we hope to be able to give you further information about this very unique situation of local sign languages in deaf schools in peripheric areas of Cameroon. Thank you very much.